Oh, how juicy does that look? Pork's so moist, it's dripping with juices, and that crackle is off the chart. Smut! This crackle is that good, it should be illegal. I'm Schuey, and in this video I'm going to show you how to roast pork loin and get perfect crackle, because no one asks about the meat, it's all about the crackle. So just sit back, grab a drink or two and let's get into it. I grabbed this 1.6 kilogram pork loin from Gippsland Premium Meats. It hadn't been vacuum sealed and they didn't score the skin, just how I like it. So I vacuum sealed it a week ago, and 2 days ago I removed it from the sealed bag. Then I wiped that down with paper towel to remove all the moisture, and I popped it back in my fridge to dry the skin out. Now, if your pork isn't vacuum sealed, overnight in the fridge to dry it out is more than enough time. In this video, I just want to show you it is possible to get perfect crackle from vacuum sealed pork. Now look at that skin. It's nice and hard from drying out in the fridge for 2 days. It is far from being moist. You know that smut. Onto the skin prep, and we're going to use one of these, called a jacquard, and it has a bunch of little spikes. Stab, stab, stab. These allow the moisture to escape from the skin when subjected to high heat. So go nuts and remove all your built-up frustrations out on that skin. Then, using a utility knife, score the skin across the roast. Don't cut too deep though, a couple of mil should do it. This will just give us some guidelines when slicing the finished pork. Once you have stabbed and scored your pork, pop it aside, we'll season it a bit later. Today I'm going to be using a 57cm Weber kettle, and I'm going to be pairing it up with 2 charcoal baskets. Why? I want to be cooking at temps of 250 degrees Celsius today. How I'll do that is by loading a charcoal chimney up with as many briquettes as it can hold, lighting them up, and then once they're fully ashed over, I'll grab my charcoal baskets, put them on the charcoal grate and dump in the charcoal. Then, using an old pair of tongs, I'm just going to move the charcoal baskets to either side of the charcoal grate. Don't forget to add a foil tray for the drippings, and place the grill back in. And pop the lid back on, opening all the vents, and we're going to give that 10 minutes to warm up. You really want to overload that chimney at the start. We need this kettle hotter than the sun. Now that the barbecue is warming up, we can season our pork, or more importantly, we can salt the skin. We'll start by applying some oil to the flesh and season that with some salt and also some pepper. Now we just need to flip it over. We're just going to lightly oil the skin, and when I say lightly, I mean it, lightly. And salt it. Throw it straight in the Weber between the 2 charcoal baskets and insert an internal temp probe, setting that to 63 degrees Celsius, and just pop the lid back on. Salt draws out moisture from the skin, so salt it just before you put it in the barbecue. Today I'm roasting with a temp of 250 degrees Celsius, and all up this roast is going to take around about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes to be cooked perfectly with awesome crackle. Or for those of you who like to use my beer timer, you're looking at a 3-beer cook. Cooking time will depend on the size of your roast. It's roughly 50 minutes per kilogram. To make crackle, we need a high heat source, and by putting the lid vent to one side of our roast, we're actually creating a hot spot. So after 30 minutes, we want to slide that lid vent around to the opposite side, holding on to the thermometer wire so we don't drag it. Now you want to make sure you don't lift that lid while we're spinning it, and we're going to let that roast away for another 30 minutes before we check on that crackle. To create crackle, we need 2 things, that's dry skin and high heat. The salt is for flavour and the oil's only there to help the salt stick. The roast is done, we've hit our target temp, so it's time to lift that lid. Perfection is the first thing I think of when I see a pork roast looking like this. Look at that crackle. And we're going to let that rest for 16 minutes before we slice into it. The general rule for resting meat is 1 minute per 100 grams. How good does that sound? It's time to slice the roaster. Oh, that crunch, that smell, that is just perfection. Oh, how moist does that look? Those score marks we made in the skin make slicing it up so much easier. As always, cheers for watching.